All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Exalted Scarf stream number 23. And now
Yeah,
we present to you the hit new character of the Star Wars universe,
I
A
can't believe we're
Rock.
talking. I can't believe we're talking about this, but this here we are. We're talking about a fucking rock. So
This is
I,
where we are in terms of character creation now.
I guess we'll talk about this because this is actually kind of interesting in a way. I guess maybe. So, uh, so I've talked a bit about this on my Twitter because it's an odd character. And I guess we should probably explain what the whole idea is.
This better
Okay,
be a transforming rock, though.
it's not. Unfortunately, it's not a rock lord. God, if we could edit like our streams on the fly, I would totally put in a clip of rock lords right now. They're robots who transform into rocks.
Yeah,
They're lame as hell, and I love them.
I mean, it just makes me wonder. Is like, who the hell is creating all these characters? Like
Floridian? I'm
kids?
not following that.
So let me explain the idea because I decided to actually research what the characters were technically being go for. So honestly, it's not even the dumbest thing about this because this is possibly an interesting idea. Honestly, if you give it a couple passes, you could make it work, maybe. But let me actually explain. So you know how Star Wars sometimes makes characters who are like inspired by characters in the trilogy, but not, you know? Okay,
Uh
let me
huh.
explain. So this rock is basically the Chewbacca.
Yeah, I understand that part.
Okay, and he pilots a ship called.
Go ahead, say it.
The
Just say.
vessel. I
From the
want
same name, from the naming conventions that brought you the game Rage, the game where your evil empire is called the Authority, and your good guys are called the Resistance.
Jesus Christ.
Or better yet, from the people who brought you the game Psyops, the Mind Game Conspiracy, where the evil villains are called the Movement.
So let me explain priorities in Star Wars because this is honestly. Let me actually kind of explain this whole weird bullshit. So in Star Wars, they've always tried to ground the universe a little bit in weird ways. So like, a ship will be called like the Millennium Falcon or some other bullshit because guess what? Ships need call signs. You can't just pilot a ship and be like, uh, this is the blah, or like we know what ships are in Star Wars. We know what a B wing is. We know what an A wing is. We know what a Z wing is. Kind of. That's debatable. But we kind of have ideas of what the ships are. And look, this was kind of a character created as a stoner joke. I mean, okay, he is a rock, and that wasn't necessarily the point, but it's an odd idea. But honestly, the problem I have with it is more like this is an idea that could work. An alien who's just a rock is kind of an interesting idea if you can develop it well.
I
But they
mean,
also named this
the
rock Geode.
the game FTL had characters that are basically a rock, or an entire race that was basically a rock. So it can work, sorta, if they're humanoid in shape, or you could just be like Seth and just animate a concrete block and give it weapons, and then have it die from ramming another concrete block. I lost a concrete block. I lost a concrete friend. But but yeah, this is one of the funniest things I've heard of. Finally found a picture of it. Yeah, show that off. Yeah, this is what we have.
Yeah.
It's not even like a rock person, it's a block of rock.
Hmm. Yep.
I mean, is it supposed to be kind of like the gelatinous cube from Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, no, it's not even like that. The whole thing about it with it is that it's just a rock. It's like kyber crystals and stuff like that.
I mean, isn't that the stuff you use to fuel starships or.
It's kind of weird because honestly, this is not the first time sentient rocks are in Star Wars, technically. There were beings called the shards. Look, I ended up learning a lot about Star Wars rocks today. So,
Oh, great. You still there?
yeah, oh no, I'm still there. I'm
You're
just kind
just.
of dealing with like a weird thing on my end, so sorry about that, man.
I suppose that's what
Uh
the bumps are for.
yeah. So, here's the deal with this whole thing. Honestly, that's kind of weird weird on this whole thing is that okay, so let me explain the stupid thing about kyber crystals in the new setting. Do you know what the stupid thing about kyber crystals are?
No, please do
They're
tell.
sentient. So so you know like regular Jedi colors. So regular Jedi colors are like the kyber crystals when they're happy and you're all good with the force, the light side and shit, right? Apparently, kyber crystals are being tortured when controlled by Sith. That's why they're red.
Um, okay.
So basically when lightsabers do bad things, they're kind of screaming out. They're like living beings. So basically, in Star Wars, you should just probably insert a no when uh when that happens.
So basically, when they're in the red, they're in pain.
Yes.
Well, I guess that makes sense. I mean, we use red
Yeah.
all the time to show peril.
Yeah, basically. So anyway, the whole thing about it is that like, you know, again, it's an odd idea, but there's a lot of odd ideas going into Star Wars right now. So it's just a very, very dumb idea.
Odd or just random?
Random. And honestly, though, a lot of people are using this to make fun of the High Republic. You know?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. It's like, what what is the general idea? Here's what I suspect they're trying to do. They're trying to make the character intentionally look stupid, and then something weird's gonna happen, and it's gonna transform into this really awesome looking character. Because I think that's consistent with like the whole idea of subverting expectations. They want to make us think that this looks stupid when it's really not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't know. The thing about it is that I feel like this is just one of those things that they think would be like a good meme joke, and they insert it. But here's the thing: like, you're not writing Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Plus, I honestly think it's not that interesting a character. He's a rock, or they are a rock, or it's like stupid sci-fi joke 1 million. It's not that interesting, at
Yeah,
least
this
to
does
me.
sound like something that came out of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Or discount Spaceballs,
Oh, jeez. I think they
you
forgot
know?
that they weren't trying to make Spaceballs.
No, yeah, yeah. There is that, but hey. You know, like that's it. It's just kind of crazy, you know. Like, but then again, they're basically like, oh no, uh we can't just
Wait.
make a good character or something. No, they have to do like this stupid rock bullshit. Mhm.
Okay. For some
Yeah,
reason, our stream is named after the last one, even though I've already renamed it. So, we'll just keep continuing on.
yeah.
Thanks, YouTube. I mean, technically, it is live, so I was like, oh well.
Mhm. Yeah,
I'll rename it later.
it's fine, man. I understand. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, this is still recently after I fixed my computer, and I still have to figure out okay what settings are working that
Yeah.
worked last time. So I'm still redoing stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, like, like we're trying here, like
Yeah.
we're just doing what we can.
So yeah. So this isn't episode 22, guys. This is episode 23.
Yeah, yeah, it's just a weird moment.
Actually,
Yeah.
have you ever seen the channel Daily Dingster?
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
that's
heard of it.
one of the most amusing things I found out about it is that it basically it's the same video over and over and over again, and I don't even think he changes the name of the title or anything else. It's just
Mhm.
the same video of the guy saying, "Somebody rang the Dingster?" And
Yeah,
he uploads it every day.
I yeah,
That's one of the few oddities I found on the internet. Ah, hell with it.
well,
I'll just blame everything on Monica. She's still messing with my PC. But yeah, that that's basically the whole High Republic thing. I mean, as funny as this is, I still suspect that they're just intentionally trying to make it stupid, just so that they can try to make us look stupid for thinking it's stupid.
no, they tend to. It's always kind of a thing. But right now we're kind of like in a weird place with everything because we're kind of going on a weird censorship spree and we're kind of getting on things back to back. There was the Dr. Seuss books, which
I oh my god, I kind of forgotten about those.
yeah, no, those were a thing. I'll talk about this. They're not very popular books, so to me, not the hugest deal. It's not like it's fucking Cat in the Hat, but
Of the Dr. Seuss books that were like censored, I guess.
well, the Dr. Seuss, it's probably more fair to say the Dr. Seuss books that were taken out of circulation, because all the Dr. Seuss books are actually have been have had various reprints over the decade since the 1930s. So these aren't like so again. There's still and keep in mind there's a lot of Dr. Seuss books. Hell, I'm always shocked when I discover a new one when even I thought like there was like there's only like a couple I didn't know about, but it's always like no, there's like 10 more I don't know about. Feels like sometimes. But yeah, no. The Dr. Seuss books were but these are like not very popular books. At the same time, it, I think they should lead to discussions on like what's in books. Again, not very popular books, though, depictions, blah, blah, blah. But it's leading to a whole thing. My big issue right now is that eBay is banning selling them on. Ban- I think that's a little too far.
Yeah, it
Look,
is.
I respect the Dr. Seuss estate for wanting to take these out of circulation on some level because they don't think the depictions. I actually think though you should try to keep these known. If I was Dr. Seuss's estate, I'd probably just publish them online and say, "Yeah, we publish these. These are insensitive, but we don't want to hide the past. We are open about it, and we want to talk about how he changed." I think it's actually good to talk about how people change in their lifetime because, like, one of the reasons Horton Hears a Who was made was because you know uh, Dr. Seuss wanted to apologize.
You know, this kind of reminds me of yet another author that kind of had some very bigoted views early in his whole writing career, only for him to slowly
Yeah.
change over time.
Uh,
Gee, I wonder who that could be.
look, look, we can always bring up the H.P. Lovecraft train. No, honestly, it's just this is a lot of people online also are saying it's really just distracting from bigger issues, and I agree. This shit should not be a big deal. Like, a lot of people are trying to make these changes into politics bullshit rather than you know, and it's annoying, honestly. Like right now, there's a whole thing with Lola Bunny's new design too, because reasons. You know, uh, I also found out why Lola Bunny was so sexy in Space Jam.
Apparently, she had tits.
No, actually, you wanna know why they made her sexy in the original Space Jam?
Why?
So that way Bugs Bunny wouldn't be accused of being a pedophile.
Aha!
So let me explain. This is weird shit, but I researched it today because, you know. So here's the whole deal. When they originally designed Lola, she looked more like a teen. And since she was getting together with Bugs, they thought he was kind of like looked older, and they felt that was a weird dynamic. So they sexed her up to make her more obviously female, so that way it didn't look like Bugs was dating a minor.
Aha.
And that is why Lola was sexy in the original Space Jam. So that way Bugs was not looking like a pedo. No, Bugs was not on the was not a part of that Hollywood ring. No siree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the truth.
But yeah, in that
Mm-hmm.
case, it was probably just going to be a no-win situation.
Yeah.
Well, they still kept our hips wide. I noticed that.
Yeah. Like, no, there's a whole bunch of things. So, again, there are many debates on this whole thing. So, it's just a whole dumb. Again, it's just dumb.
Well, we're living in a culture that rewards people for being offended. I mean, it's like when you train a dog, he does something right, you give him a doggy treat, so he ends up like trying to do more just to get more doggy treats. It's kind of like that for our current like creative society where they want treats for solving problems, so they keep creating new problems out of nothing.
Yep.
That's basically what it is. I mean, it's not even about solving the problem. It's about advancement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically, right now, this is a whole thing. and they're trying to it. But I guess we can also talk about something that's interesting because right now we're kind of living in an age where a lot of like you know uh a lot of stuff is being a lot of stuff is being a lot of stuff is being censored by I guess lefties, but you know we can also look at something else too.
Yeah, remember when stuff was being censored by the right?
Yeah. So this is going to sound weird, but we decided to actually look into this.
All right.
So we're also going to. Mhm, mhm, uh-huh. We're also going to go into. But basically, right now, um,
What are you trying to
we're going to
grab?
talk about.
If
Sorry.
if you're trying to show me a book, understand that we don't have a camera feed on you.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
basically,
in fact, lately I heard I think that one developer that was in hot water in that Harry Potter game is like Hogwarts Legacy. He left the development team, although it's questionable as to whether or not he left of his own free will. But he's no longer part of that team. So let's wait and see if people stop complaining about it. Now, who am I kidding? It's the Harry Potter universe written by J.K. Rowling. They'll just complain about that instead.
yeah. So
And
so
all right, finish your thought.
all right. So let's actually talk about a couple of different things on this whole thing because this is, like I said, old school. And sorry, like I'm kind of in the mode of being distracted, but I'm taking care of like multiple things. So look, Dungeons and Dragons is kind of one of the more famous examples.
Yeah.
You know, let's be honest. So I Dungeons and Dragons is pretty famous. Another one like because mostly of the Satanism. Now, Dungeons and Dragons kind of is stupid for one reason. If you play Dungeons and Dragons, you often fought demons.
Yeah.
So, plus that's not even getting into the movies that were, made at the time,
Mazes and Monsters is a far out game.
or the comic strips.
Yeah.
Uh, by one Jack Chick, everybody. That's a guy I should talk about on my Twitter someday because that's a fascinating history. One of the most often parodied creators in comics, but you kind of have to be exposed to him on some level.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying
So,
to remember what the name of that comic was.
Dark Dungeon, I think it was called. Let me look it up because it's Jack Chick. Um, yeah, Dark Dungeons.
Dark Dungeons.
Yeah, if we want to, I could. Yeah. Okay, wizard, cast your spell. Okay, dungeon mass. Like honestly, we could do an entire live reading, but they did adapt it into a movie that I own.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That'd be a fun thing for us to watch. It's like once we get the guy, it's like we get all the guys together and we're just gonna watch that movie. Also, it probably didn't help Dungeons and Dragons that a lot of their a lot of their book covers tend to have demons on them. And then, but yeah, then there's the whole like Dark Dungeons comic where it's where it's just kind of it's out there where apparently it's like some people commit suicide because it's like their characters died in the game. Guys, it's just a game. People make throwaway
Yeah,
characters all the time. But yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. That's one of the things I always got hit hard by the moral busybodies, and it's still getting hit hard. It's just getting hit hard for a different reason, and it's just at this time, Dungeons Dungeons and Dragons, that is under Wizards of the Coast, is trying to capitulate to these guys, which is why we have wheelchairs for some reason. Which, okay, I mean, if you can't get a regeneration spell to make your character walk,
yeah.
maybe
No,
that could make sense. Or you could,
mhm.
but in that setting, I would often expect like maybe we could just have like mechanical leg or like magic legs or something like that, like spider legs.
No, there are a lot of like no, there are a lot of like things that like honestly people don't know how to sometimes handle topics like these in sensitive ways or anything else. Um,
In fact,
as I kind of say, I
in,
talked about this, and this is a weird, controversial topic, but well, maybe I'm not going to really talk about it here. But science fiction often makes problems, and fantasy specifically,
yeah,
uh, like science fiction makes problems, and like I said, fantasy specifically makes problems moot
yeah.
in a lot of cases, you know? But it is what it is.
I like how the I like the idea of your greatest threat within the dungeon is just gonna be a staircase.
Yeah,
But you don't have to just put this in Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, you could put this in. You could play other games that are much more. That's much more open to the idea of disabled people using wheelchairs, like Call of Cthulhu.
yeah,
I mean, chances are that Call of Cthulhu is very much about not having the very action oriented environments that you would have in Dungeons and Dragons. Everyone's just kind of either playing some form of scholar or an investigator, and chances are one of you might be disabled. One of you could end up disabled during the adventure. Like if you had to escape from somewhere, but your leg got stuck, so you had to cut it off. I mean, you could have stuff like that. But most of the time, you're just solving puzzles and figuring stuff out. And if you have to run from something, chances are you already screwed up to begin with.
hmm yeah. No, that's fair. hmm Like I said,
Yeah,
there are.
that's why if I wanted to make a Call of Cthulhu video game, I would have as few chase scenes as possible, if any.
Yeah. Now, right now, well, like
What the hell are you
I,
doing?
I am honest. Okay, so I'm actually going to explain this because it's going to seem like a tangent, but I kind of have to get this out of the way. I'm in an argument, a
Oh,
stupid argument.
yeah, I think I got him at a bad time.
You did. Okay, so I'm just going to explain this whole thing, and I'm just going
Yeah,
to do it because it might be interesting.
yeah, his spaceship's currently under fire from like people who don't want him to get to Jupiter.
Yeah, so let me actually explain this whole bullshit. So basically, all right. So I'm talking about the inspirations behind Superman specifically.
Uh oh.
Um, yes.
Was he
Um,
inspired by the strong men of the time? Like the
Strongman at
circus
the
strongman.
time. So this guy basically is going on about how Superman was inspired by golems and stuff like that, which is not necessarily true. It might have played a factor because of Siegel and Joe Shuster's raising, but it's not necessarily one to one. It's a cultural thing that could have influenced them, but they never cited it as an influence. You know?
Yeah.
At least not in any quote I have found. It's mostly Jewish scholars making the connection, which is fine. So basically, but we do know like some of the inspirations for them. Tarzan, Doc Savage is probably a huge inspiration for one. Uh, like the Fortress of Solitude was probably lifted from Doc Savage as just one example. Plus, there is the name Man of Steel, Man of Bronze. Get it?
Oh yeah.
Tarzan was also an inspiration. John Carter, all this pulp stuff was a huge inspiration to Superman. So, like I said, and this guy is like, I never heard of Doc Savage. I was not around in the 70s and shit. When I was like, dude, like, this is documented shit. This is not like it's on Wikipedia. Jesus Christ. So this guy basically is being a wall of like, no, it's just the golem, and I'm like, I'm Jewish and I don't think it's just the golem. You
It's like
know?
we invented the golems. God damn it!
Like, so this guy, I feel like I'm being Jew-splained.
If we ever make it
So
big, we need that on a T-shirt.
I feel like I'm being Jew-splained.
That is just so hilarious.
I'm sorry, it feels that way.
Oh my
Like, basically, this guy is like citing things of like, okay, just because, look, I'm denying that Superman probably had some inspiration from his Jewish roots because he is created by two Jews. But do I think everything with Superman was necessarily created from like Jewish ideas? Not necessarily. The Golem, especially, was always one of those ones I was kind of a little tenuous about because the Golem his story has him rampaging around and being controlled by people. So I honestly would say that Golem is probably more of an early Frankenstein inspiration, maybe, if I had to say something. Well, not even then. Frankenstein, again, not exactly the same thing. I do think the Golem has some roots there, but not one to one. And I believe that Superman is probably inspired more by the pulp heroes of his time that helped coalesce some of the tropes with him. You know, like how Batman rips off the Shadow almost entirely,
Not to mention,
and
what
Zorro.
wasn't Doc Savage a Batman character,
No,
or was he a? I know he was
so
around before
he
Superman.
he was around before Superman and Batman. Look, uh, if someone's around than Superman, you can definitely say he was not a Batman character
All right.
because uh,
I know
the,
Batman. I think Batman came before Superman.
no, he didn't.
What?
Like
He didn't?
Scarpy, Batman was literally created because Superman was a thing.
Oh yeah. But
Like
wait a minute. Wasn't he? Wasn't the whole deal of DC is that it was actually an abbreviation of Detective Comics? So they
yes,
really
but
just had
Batman.
like detective-like characters like Batman.
Yes, but here's the thing: Batman didn't appear in Detective Comics until Detective Comics number 27.
All right. Well, you're the expert on this.
Yeah, okay. So if Since you got me on this tangent, I'm gonna go on this tangent because fuck you.
Here we go.
Okay, all right. So Batman was literally created because Superman was a popular character, and DC wanted to make another superhero character. So Bob Kane ended up creating Batman because DC wanted another superhero like character. While Batman is kind of different than Superman in a lot of ways, it's worth noting the similar costume structure both have. You know, but besides that whole thing, yes, Superman did come first before Batman. Without Superman, we would not have the superhero boom. The only person who predates Superman as like superhero, uh, uh, mm-hmm,
Still
yeah,
arguing. Still firing the
yeah, still
torpedoes.
arguing. He's calling me a Superman otaku,
I
which
hope
I'm
he.
like, oh my god.
I'm torn as to whether or not I should actually link him the stream.
I no, don't.
hey,
I don't need to deal with this.
hey, if you're stuck in the middle of an argument with him, I mean, we can at least get some content out of it.
I know. I really would like to start. You want me to read what he's saying?
What?
I get it. You're some superhero, Superman otaku, and I certainly don't care to the depth about some golem derived characters you do. Where do you would you like your courage from Superman trophy delivered? Mm-hmm.
To his front door, thank you.
Huh?
I mean, he probably. It'll just be added to the shelf.
Front.
just.
I just said front door. Thank you. That's a good comeback. Now, like honestly, it's just one of those things of Superman's creation is a very hotly debated topic, but it is what it is. Um, and I've done a lot of research myself into it because, again, I've done my research into this shit. So this is not like some, uh, look, dude, you're wrong. And like, I'm sorry, you could cite like the Golem all you want, but it wasn't necessarily the primary inspiration for Superman. And Tarzan, John Carter, and the like were also inspirations for the character too. You
Yeah,
know?
because they have the freaking loincloths and everything.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot of these pulp characters have very specific clothing options.
yeah, no, they do. And again, that was just kind of the style at the time, honestly, and that was kind of what they were going for. You know, like Conan was like the big muscular dude and shit like that because again, there was kind of like that fantasy element back then. You know? And I'm sorry, I'm just kind of shocked by how defensive this dude is over this. You know? It's weird because it's like, oh yeah, no, Superman was probably not primarily inspired, and I'm Jewish. I'm part of this culture myself. Also,
Yeah,
like,
it's just
look, I I've done my research into this shit too, so it's not like I'm exactly some guy who's like going into this because again, this is kind of my culture.
what did he say this time?
I'm not gonna say that shit. I'm just gonna go on my Twitter later and say I felt like I was being Jew-splained by somebody.
that is the funniest thing you said all stream.
I'm being a Jew-splained. Yeah, no, like honest, like I'm. Look, it's just funny You
Yeah,
know?
it's just I mean, it's like guys, you lost the argument. Let it go.
Well, he lost the argument, maybe, and I don't know. Honestly, like I said, I just was like, okay, this is probably what it is. Like Superman was probably not, and while I listened to a lot of creators over this shit, it's not just like, oh, I should listen to only specific creators. No, it's like, dude, I,
Oh, yeah, there's
you know,
if it has multiple creators, then chances are there's like multiple inspirations into it. I always thought it was just a strongman because of the costume, kind of seemed reminiscent of the strongmen of circuses during the time.
no, the strongman of circuses is an interesting thing that like that inspired the costume definitely. But it's also worth noting Superman went through a couple different changes. And there's also darker inspirations to the character too. Um, so believe it or not, like here's an interesting piece of trivia.
Uh huh.
You know Batman's origin where he lost his parents in a mugging?
Yeah.
That happened to Jerry Siegel's father.
Oh.
So Jerry Siegel had a heart attack while he was being mugged, actually. You see, he was running a store and it got robbed, and he had a heart attack and died
Damn.
during the whole thing. And yeah, and isn't yeah, so a lot of like a lot of the early stuff for Superman was imagining a guy who could get the bad guy and stop shit like that from happening. Which the origin I just described sounds like it should have been for Batman's creators, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Concerning his origin, right? So again, it's stuff like this that always keeps me fascinated about the characters like this. But hmm, but yeah, that's kind of my thing here. So I'm looking at this shit and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Like, jeez, I like, you know, it's just why I hate when people are brick walls like this. I ran into this guy before, I think, a couple times, but not like too long ago, and I didn't deal with him much then. So,
Yeah.
but
There
like,
are some people who are kind of brick walls about certain things, where it's like they will not acknowledge any alternative solutions or any alternative theories.
yeah, basically. And I don't like exactly. I'm not one of those guys who, you know, deconstructs everything or like everything else, but the guy just seems like he's just kind of a bit up his asshole about it. He hates being wrong about something, and so like he hates being corrected. Like, look, honestly, it just kind of feels weird. I don't know, like again, I felt like I was being juice-plained Superman's origins, and that's just the weirdest feeling I've
It
had.
is. It's like this is how it should be. It's like no, that's not. Yeah, I think that might be it. He I think he might be trying to apply Superman's origins to like an oppressed minority just for representation's sake.
Maybe I don't know. Like there is elements to that to Superman, but not exact like. But it's because they were also in the 1930s and they were Jewish. You know, like you don't really need to make much of a leap there.
I guess you was Superman creators, David.
Uh, maybe I don't know. Look, man, it's weird shit. I'm just like, oh god, oh god, it was painful.
It's
I actually I actually did talk about this a little bit today because there's also a weird. So there's this Avengers Assemble clip going around where it shows where it has. as kind of a weird joke, Black Widow says Black Panther knows nothing of being oppressed.
What?
Uh, I gotta talk about this because she's kind of right, but also kind of it's a very tone deaf scene. Okay,
Imagine if someone saw that scene out of context and didn't know that he actually lived in a prosperous nation known as Wakanda, or Wakanda.
well, yes, that's a problem to an extent, and it does have to do with the fact that uh like like uh I talked about this. Black Panther is not okay. This is just the truth about it. Black Panther is not an African American superhero. He's a black superhero, and that's a very different thing in some occasions, especially with his background. Because Black Panther has a safety net as a character. He's a king. He's rich. Like, of course, there's like, oh, ruling a world. Yeah, no, guy is uber powerful. Like, and there are aspects about it that make his life hard and how he has to be. But he's not necessarily can relate to African Americans on the street.
Yeah, well, when your elections are trial by combat, I mean, I'm sure that can be stressful.
I know, right? Plus, plus, you always gotta make sure, like, your various tribes don't try to kill each other in like weird coups or something,
Yeah.
or the Robo Rhinos.
Ah, the Robo Rhinos.
I know. Anyway, uh, we're not here to talk about weird Black Panther lore. It's just a tone deaf scene, honestly, and it's just kind of funny because, like I said, I was talking about it mostly because it's like, look, the Black Panther has a safety net. It's worth noting about. I wasn't trying to be too confrontational about it. I was basically like, this is a case where, yeah, it's a terrible scene, but there are better characters to do this with. I actually think the Falcon would have been a better character to do this with because, again, African American.
Yeah.
Uh, maybe another good character would be Storm. Storm is a little bit different than most, but her background lends itself better to it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
whatever.
And some people keep forgetting that there have been minority representation in video games for years now. I mean, we've had Shadow Man, we've had Turok Dinosaur Hunter, which is freaking awesome. You're playing as a Native American fighting cyborg velociraptors.
Yeah.
And there's like several others.
Yeah. Basically, like
I mean,
I,
who could forget Grand Theft Auto San Andreas?
none of us can. So, but yeah, it is what it is right now. My sister is actually starting to try and contact me, so I actually gotta get going.
All right, well, we're near the end, anyways. I mean,
Yeah, it was
I
fun
mean,
talking to you
yeah, it's like
about this stuff.
I'm gonna try to keep doing these streams weekly, just so it's like just to have consistency going on.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been fun. We'll catch you guys next week.